How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Riley's Red Zone, and in today's video we're going to take a look at each NFL game in Week 9, and we do have guest picks back for this week. So let's start by taking a quick rewind and talking about what happened last week. Last week I went 12-4 in the picks, so a pretty solid week, bringing me up to 78-44 overall on the season, and I am 17 of 30 on my upset picks so far. Now, last week was the debut of guest picks for this season, and so we brought back last year's champion of the guest picks, Nick. And he went 8-8 last week. He broke 500, broke even, and he sets the bar for the remaining guest picks of the season, and I guess that's a pretty, adequate bar of what we're going to have to see. So who do we have on this week's picks to add their selections? We have a multi-time award-winning judge of grocery games. Coming in at 6'25", we have Andrew making his selections this week. So as I discuss the games, we're also going to throw in what he has to choose. And then towards the end of the season, we might bring some people back, but also, you might get to claim as a champion the guest picks, as well as if you're watching this video right now and you want to be featured in a future video with your picks, go ahead, comment down below, let me know, and we'll work you in to the future installment. So with that being said, let's start by talking about what we have on the plate this week for games. Let's start with talking about the Thursday matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wow, Will Levis looked good last week against the Falcons. That was an impressive debut for the rookie from Kentucky, and he absolutely torched that Falcons defense through the air, and so you really think if the Titans can get a passing attack and their dominant running attack with Derrick Henry going, they could be a team to beat. But the Steelers have a very, very solid defense. They have a very impressive unit defensively, including TJ Watt. And I still am always hesitant about their offense at times because, there's a lot of talk about the coordinator and everything, but just it seems that at times they can't move the ball. But this week, I'm thinking they keep it a low-scoring game. The line is currently -2.5 for the Steelers. That feels about right. I'm going to trust that the Steelers play very good defense against, once again, Will Levis had a very good debut last week. I think the Steelers, if they keep it low scoring, will have enough offensively to get a win this week. So I'm going to take the Steelers in this matchup. Andrew is going to take the Titans. He has the Titans by 3, and also a low scoring game. He thinks it'll be 20-17. I could see that one happening for sure. This game could come down to a field goal. Moving on to the Dolphins and Chiefs across the sea morning game. Two absolutely electric offenses. This game will probably be one worth getting up for. This is an unbelievable battle between two of the top teams in the AFC. The Dolphins, as said, they light up the scoreboard. Now, defensively as well, they get Jalen Ramsey back. They're starting to get their rhythm there also. The Chiefs have still been moving it offensively now, but last week they did, of course, stumble to the Broncos. Now, Patrick Mahomes was said to have the flu. Didn't quite have a Michael Jordan type of flu game, but maybe that did play enough in why they lost. So it still is definitely up in the air here, but I'm expecting a bounce-back game, but this is a tough one to call. I think these are two great teams. This feels like a game that, especially not being in Arrowhead, not being a home game for the Chiefs, it's more of a neutral site game, could potentially give the Dolphins an opportunity here, but I'm going to take the Chiefs in this matchup. The Chiefs favored by 2.5. Andrew takes the Chiefs in a 1-point nail-biter, and that could definitely see itself coming true because these are two teams that can light up the scoreboard, and it might come down to who makes the defensive stand. So we both have the Chiefs in that one. This next one, the Seahawks and the Ravens. The Seahawks get the win against the Browns last week. The Ravens have been looking solid overall this season. The Seahawks make a move, and we'll see if I have time this week, quick making a trade deadline video. They make the trade for Leonard Williams defensively, and that felt like a trade where they think they can win it all this year. And I have to say, so far, I don't know if Geno Smith has been playing to the level of a Super Bowl caliber quarterback to where I would have put all my chips in, but at the same time, if he can just bounce back a little bit to what he was last year, you're looking at a really, really solid team. The Seahawks have a great roster, but the Ravens have, to me, been one of the most dominant teams, I feel like, actually, in the NFL as consistency-wise. As we'll, in the future, discuss some MVP talks, some award-winning talks. I think that there's going to be a Ravens player up there. I think their offense has been really, really solid, and Todd Monken's done a great job this season. And defensively, I think they're also a force. So I'm going to take the Ravens. They're favored by 5.5. Andrew is also going to take the Ravens by a significant amount. So we're both going to go Ravens on that one. I think the Seahawks still could be a pretty solid team, but I think the Ravens are a different monster right now. Rams, Packers. So to precedent this again, if you don't know, I am recording this right now on a Wednesday morning. So there's a lot of news that still can occur in the time, even by the time I'm editing the video. Like last week we had Deshaun ruled out, and we had the Brock Purdy concussion, but he ended up playing. Here, Matthew Stafford is a huge storyline. I don't know what exactly is going to happen. Looked like it's a day-to-day injury. They tried to get John Wolford off the Bucs practice squad, and he said, no, I've never seen that before. But it's clear that they're trying to prepare for at least having another option. If not, it's going to be Brett Rippon, I believe, that is who they're going to start, because I don't think they're going to have Stetson Bennett to potentially throw in there. So it's going to be Brett Rippon if Stafford can go. But if Stafford goes, I like the Rams a lot in this matchup. Like I would definitely take the points there. They're +3 right now. I like Stafford in this offense. He's kind of carried them to their record a little bit, in my opinion. But I think the Packers, tough loss against the Vikings last week. I've talked about Jordan Love a lot on this channel. Still just figuring some things out, but defensively I think is more so where they might have some struggles. And once again, if Stafford's healthy in this matchup, I'm seeing him light up this defense. And also specifically, I think the Packers' run defense is not the best. And so Kyren Williams could go crazy. But I think that in this situation where they have to work in a variety of backs and don't quite have that dominance of a Kyren Williams of early in the season, I think that that is something they will need to take advantage of, potentially running the ball. And so having injuries to both of those aspects of your game is really tough. But I'm going to just take the Rams here. It's a tough one. I don't do like flipping it based on injuries, even though you could clearly make the case that I could say whatever. But whatever team I choose on this Wednesday is who I'm sticking with, no matter what the injuries are. And Andrew is going the same. We're both going with the Rams here in this matchup. So doesn't matter if Stafford plays or not. We're going to predict the Rams in this one. Bears, Saints. Bears, of course, disappointing performance against the Chargers. But the Saints, I think, are maybe on a way up. Like, they get the upset over Indianapolis, which I did predict last week, so that was a great call. But they're just not the best. But Rashid Shaheed is a stud. I mean, they, on the deep balls, like Carter, Shaheed is a monster duo. I just can't pick the Bears right now. Once again, against many teams, they have, of course, picked up a win, and this season a couple. But like, I can't really take them over many teams, I feel still. I need to see a little bit more, especially without Justin Fields. But Badgen's been doing all right, I guess. So 7.5 for the Saints. I can't believe that, the Saints are one of the most favored teams of the week, but it's because they're playing the Bears. So I'm going to have to go with the Saints. I think it could always be closer than we think because the Saints are not like a top team. Andrew's got the Saints by 10. I think that could be about what happens. It'll be a 2-possession game. I'll take the Saints as well in this one. I think that I just can't really go with the Bears here. The Bucs and the Texans. Now, this one for me has to be one of the tougher games of the week. The Texans had a golden opportunity just to pick up a win against the Panthers last week, and they couldn't do it. Stroud is still a very, very solid quarterback, still put up a good performance, but they couldn't get it done against an easier team. Now, they've also gotten it done against some more difficult teams. But right now, I'm a little hesitant, to go back to back there. I think what I'm going to have to live with is I think the Texans this season are a team that is a joker, a wild card, a team that is going to pull off some upsets you don't expect, and I just have to live with that. The Bucs haven't shown a ton for me in the last few weeks, but I think this is a get-back game for them. Baker will have the team going. I'll take the Bucs. They're 2.5-point underdogs. Andrew is going to take the Texans in this one. I think this could come down to a field goal, either direction. And I just think that I'm going to live with the Texans being what some other teams have been for me in the past, which is I just don't quite, it seems whenever I think they're finally going to get that win, they don't. And they're going to pull off some upsets, and I know that's going to happen. So I'll pick against them here, but that could easily be a game that goes to the Texans, and I'm just going to have to live with that. Now, the Commanders and the Patriots. Commanders we'll talk about maybe in the trade deadline video if I make it, surprisingly sellers, like big time to me. I mean, looking at that roster, I just didn't see, after you get rid of Sweat and Young, I don't see many building blocks right now for them to really do anything the rest of the season. And it's not like, Young and Sweat carried their team, but those are significant pieces that the Patriots' offensive line, to me, at times has been a weakness. Well, now they don't have to match up against some of the best edge rushers in the league. And so we'll talk about the compensation in that other video once again. But right now, Sam Howell is such an interesting prospect in this, is that he has made some unbelievable throws this season. He puts up some crazy fantasy points, but still, I think holding on to the ball a little bit too long as he is getting sacked a lot. But I think he's shown enough that you might roll with him next season. But this is a huge opportunity for him to take advantage of that. They are 3.5-point underdogs, which I have to say is surprising. The Patriots have just not really been it this season. They haven't seen enough, but I honestly think that the loss of the edge rushers is enough in this game for me to flip the script. I once again was saying I think the Patriots' offensive line might be one of their weaknesses, but here if you have to avoid, you don't have to avoid those edge rushers, I'll take the Patriots in this one in a bounce back. I thought it was going to be an upset pick. It's not. So I would say if you were looking at points, like the Commanders might be a better bet here. But Andrew's got the Commanders. Totally can see that one. I think I was once again thinking the Patriots were going to be an upset pick, but not quite this week. So split game again there. Colts Panthers. This is another one where I'll live with if an upset happens here. The Panthers do finally get that win against the Texans, but for it to happen back to back, you just don't quite get that energy from me. But Frank Reich against his former team as a coach, that could be interesting here. I think the Panthers could still be, I thought they'd be at the beginning of the year what the Texans are, like a sneaky upset type of team with Bryce Young. That hasn't quite been the case, but against the Colts is definitely a winnable game. But I'll take Gardner Minshew. They at least kept it close last week. I'll take the Colts and that team getting Taylor back a little bit. They got Josh Downs rolling. I will take their offense. I once again think this could be a sneaky spoiler upset, but I don't know if I can take the Panthers expecting them to win 2 weeks in a row. Colts are favored by 2.5 and Andrew is taking the Colts by 3. So that would be a close one. The Colts, I think, are just like an interesting middle-of-the-road team right now, but Gardner's got them going enough to where they can pull off some victories. Cowboys and Eagles. Let's talk about these two teams because they are some very impressive performers thus far this season. I just don't. This is a tough one to go with. The Cowboys have been so hot and cold that I don't know which Cowboys team we're going to get on a week-to-week basis. Specifically with Dak, I mean, he has some phenomenal weeks, has some other weeks where it's not quite. You're seeing the turnovers happen again. But I think that the Eagles still just look like a really, really solid team, but once again, they are playing games close. They're not an absolute dominant team, but I still think that their roster might be one of the best, if not the best in the league, and they keep winning. So I can't really pick against that, and so for that reason, I just think that I have to go with the Eagles here. It should be a close one. Andrew has the Cowboys by 1. I was looking at it. I was trying to think okay, the Cowboys have actually won some games against the Eagles, but it's been pretty split as the home team has been winning these games in this series over the last few games. So I think that when this game goes to Dallas, I'll pick the Cowboys probably. But right now, I'll take the Eagles at home. Once again, still kind of cruising in this season. I don't think that they're unstoppable whatsoever, and a good team like the Cowboys could easily come in and upset them. Realized I maybe missed a few games here. We're going to rewind back to the noon window or the 1 o'clock window. I'm adjusting the Eastern time here. But let's talk about the Vikings and the Falcons. The Vikings, of course, have this injury problem with Kirk Cousins. Such unfortunate timing. I mean, he's going to be a free agent, and I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback for the future, but we know what they're doing for now, which is going with the rookie, Jaren Hall from BYU, and they also trade for Josh Dobbs, which I thought was an interesting move. I thought that was around the range that you could consider making a trade for them. I thought that maybe Colt McCoy was going to be their answer and just sign a backup because they still have Nick Mullins and Sean Mannion on roster, but I like that they didn't give up much for. They're basically saying this, and I completely agree with this philosophy. Let's go with the rookie. If we have something, the next Dak, a late round choice, heck, we got one. Then you got a quarterback. If you don't, you have Dobbs, who at least is, in my opinion, better than their other two options, and has shown to at least be at times this season an adequate starter. It's not perfect at all. There's a lot of messy plays, but was able to pull off, an impressive win against the Cowboys, for example, with the Cardinals. In that situation, that wasn't maybe as strong as what the Vikings do have. So I like them bringing in that move. With Jaren Hall starting, my prediction this week, I think he'll actually put up a good game, but I don't think it will be enough to win. The Falcons are favored by 5. The Falcons, of course, do lose last week against the Titans. So this could be a 2-week in a row rookie quarterback making his first start, comes in and dominates the Falcons. That would be quite a story. But for now, I've been so hesitant on the Falcons this season. Whatever I've said about the Falcons, most of the time it's been the other way. Last week finally got one right by picking against them. But this week, if the Kirk was healthy, I'm taking the Vikings easily. But with not, I'll take the Falcons. Andrew's going with the Vikings. So he's thinking Jaren Hall could potentially step up to the plate and get something going. So I'll take the Falcons just because I think that Kirk is a difference maker, but I still think Jaren Hall will put up a good game. And also let's talk about Dobbs' former team, the Cardinals versus the Browns. Browns do lose against the Seahawks, but they have one of the best defenses in the league right now. And so I got to go with them. The Cardinals, don't know, though, if they start Kyler, whole different ball game. But right now I'm going to lean that they start Clayton Tune. It looks like with what Andrew has as a score projection, a 28-31 Browns win. I'm guessing he maybe thinks that Kyler's in and puts up some points, which I do think if Kyler's in, you're easily taking the +8 here, and because he'll keep it close. But I'm going to say it might not happen. But either way, I think it's safer for me to go with the Browns. So we're both going with the Browns, but this could be a real close one if Kyler Murray is healthy. So let's jump back. I think we got 3 games left to discuss here. Giants Raiders. Breaking news last night I was still up, but like at 1:30 in the morning, was that the Raiders have fired their GM and head coach combo. Honestly, timing's weird, but I saw that makes sense. Josh McDaniels was not it for this team. I think we saw this on Monday night, that it was an absolute train wreck. And I think that's the way to go. I still think it's giving me the, Rich Bisaccia vibes a couple seasons ago. We both are thinking the same thing, me and Andrew. We're thinking an interim head coach goes in there. Now, I will also say this. Andrew put in these picks before the firing yesterday, but I think we're both going the same here. We're going to take the Raiders in an interim head coach situation, coming in and get that first win. I think we've seen it quite a bit historically. I just remember even last year, didn't Jeff Saturday, in his first game as a coach against the Raiders, get a win? Once again, I mentioned the Rich Bisaccia was successful as an interim a couple of years ago. I think it was Romeo Crennel for the Texans. I believe it was either his first or second week pulled off a win. And then we've even seen some other ones where a coach can kind of keep them close, like last year with Steve Wilkes. Even I think he pulled off a few wins, but if not, he kept the games really close with the Panthers and made me even think about if he should be the next coach for them. So interim head coaches can sometimes spark something. The other thing that's going to be a mystery here is the quarterback position. 2-point spread right now. The Raiders are still the favorites, which I think is interesting. It's really both these teams have quarterback concerns. Like Tommy DeVito, for me, is not it for the Giants. If Tyrod Taylor was starting, I might think about the Giants here. Or Daniel Jones. It might be Daniel Jones. Either way, I'd think about him, but I just don't see enough right now, Giants offensively. Raiders are thinking about making the quarterback switch, it looks like, to Aiden O'Connell again. I would agree with that. I mean, I just haven't seen anything from Garoppolo. It's clear you're not going to be a playoff contender at this point. I would do what the Vikings are doing, just say, let's throw in a rook, see what we got, and if he's not anything, fine. I mean, we'll move on. It's not like the season's going to go anywhere anyways. If you already fired your head coach. So I think they'll actually have a spark, and I will take the Raiders, and so does Andrew. Bills, Bengals, Sunday night, 2 phenomenal teams at their ceilings. This one, I think, will be a real close one. Of course, I will mention, last time these two teams played, we did have the unfortunate situation with Damar Hamlin, and we are thankful that, a little less than a year later, he is back even on the team. So that's quite a recovery. But, just had to throw that out as we were playing a night game with these two teams again. But this game, to me, I think is going to be an electric one. Love that it's the Sunday night game. I think that this one is so split for me. These are two teams that I think could make a run at the Super Bowl. I picked the Bengals in the preseason, and after a few weeks, I was thinking, yikes. I mean, this is not going well. Burrow is not playing well. What are we doing? And all of a sudden, they're back. They're looking pretty good. They got Jamar Chase and Burrow going. I mean, they are moving the ball offensively. Their defense is a unit. I mean, I've talked about it before. They don't have like a ton of star players now, especially after losing Jesse Bates in the offseason. And I think Hendrickson might be here. But they have a system that their whole defense flies, and it works as a unit. And so they have a really solid defense. The Bills make a trade for Rasul Douglas. I really like that because the corner's been a little bit of a question mark for them. And I like them bringing Rasul Douglas in from the Packers. And I think at their ceilings, these are two teams that can be contending for the Super Bowl, as said. But right now, I'll take the Bills as the underdog, 2.5-point underdogs. I'll take the Bills in this matchup. Andrew's going to go with the Bengals in this one. I think this will be a very close game. Really anticipated. It's all going to be if Josh Allen turns the ball over or not. I'm going to say he doesn't as much, even though, as I said, the Bengals have good defense. So I'm expecting a close one. Chargers, Jets. Jets do pull off that miracle win against, well, kind of against the Giants. A messy win for sure. A 13-10 type of game there. That was crazy that they did, but it was enough to get the win. Zach Wilson moved the ball enough offensively for them to win at the end of the game and get them in the field goal range. The Chargers did put up a good performance against the Bears. It was the Bears. But I think they keep it rolling this week, and I'll take Justin Herbert and that offense. Jets still do have a great defense, but I think that the Chargers are going to work their way back into playoff contention here and get a win streak rolling. So I'm going to take the Chargers. Andrew's going to take the Jets. So this one will be another split. We have quite a lot of splits this week. I think more than what me and Nick had last week. So the standings should be shaken up a little bit. It means that one of us is going to have a really solid week. Well, it could break even in the middle too, but with picking opposites, I think one of us will have a really solid week. The other, maybe not as much, but we'll see what happens there. So with that being said, thank you very much for tuning into this week's picks. I appreciate you sticking along on the ride for this long. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Might have a couple other sneaky videos besides the picks coming out shortly in the next few weeks. So with that being said, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.